All right. Let's see. Reply to that. All right. Anybody need to talk anything before I call a case?
No, sir.
Fine.
All right, let's be on the record in case number 2020-CR145, Captain State of Kansas versus Darrell Harris. Would the parties announce their appearances, please?
May it please the court, Christopher Schneider, Assistant District Attorney, appears on behalf of the state of Kansas.
May it please the court, Mr. Harris appears in person via Zoom with counsel Brett Richmond.
All right, we are here set down today for a sentencing. The record should reflect that back on December 4th, the parties appeared also I think we appeared personally that day. And at that time, the defendant changed his plea from one of not guilty to guilty. I inquired and accepted that plea, ordered a pre-sentence investigation, and set it for sentencing today. I've received that pre-sentence investigation. The critical findings are as follows. The primary count of conviction is one of aggravated violation of the Offender Registration Act, which is a severity level 3 person felony. The defendant's criminal history was found to be B as in boy. That would leave him with a presumed sentence of prison with a presumed range of 206, 216, or 228 months. If he has to do that time, he would be eligible for up to 15% good time credit and subject to 36 months of post-release supervision. A special rule number 9 applies, and that is that this crime was committed while on parole. If he's granted probation today, it would be to community corrections for a period of 36 months. The second count of conviction is one of violation of an Offender Registration Act, which is a severity level 6 person felony. For scoring purposes,
I'm sorry, Judge, you cut out for a minute. Did you say that's also a level 3?
No, it's a level 6.
6, thank you.
Yes, it's not aggravated. The criminal history score for a second count is I. That would leave him with a presumed sentence again of prison with a presumed range of 17, 18, or 19 months. Again, eligible for 15% good time credit, the same special rules, same post-release and probation. I would ask you first, Mr. Schneider, did you have an opportunity to review the pre-sentence investigation? Any additions, corrections, or challenges to those findings?
I have reviewed it, Judge. The only change I need to note is there is an additional special rule that applies. It is special rule number 46 because this is an offender registration case.
Yes. Any quibble with that, Mr. Richmond?
No, Judge. Mr. Harris is present with me. We spoke previously before going on the record about the PSI. We reviewed the criminal history score, and we have no objection to the current criminal history score, as well as the addition for the registration denotation that Mr. Schneider made.
All right. I will adopt the findings of the PSI with that addition, that extra special rule regarding the violation of the Offender Registration Act. Mr. Richmond, you filed a motion for departure. I've read it. Would you like to be heard on it this morning?
Yes, Judge. I would simply ask that the plea agreement in this case be followed with the motion for disposition of departure be granted in this case. Mainly, Mr. Harris is someone who is in need, has a case manager as well, and would continue to do so with on probation with Wyandotte Center. As the court can see, he hasn't had issues with the law since I believe it was 96, I think. It's been quite some time he has stayed out of trouble, Judge, except for the issue with registration. He made it known to the court that the big issue with registration was the monetary value. I would also ask that fines and fees be waived for Mr. Harris as he is on disability, and that he be noted as indigent, and that the registration fees be waived as well to continue his registration, Judge. I'm looking up the jail time right now, Judge, of how much I would ask that he be awarded, but that would be my request.
All right. Mr. Schneider.
Judge, I would ask the court to follow the plea agreement in this case, and that is to run the sentences consecutive in this case. And I pursuant to the plea agreement would agree with the motion for dispositional departure, which Mr. Richmond has filed. Your Honor, I think given, I mean, the defendant accepted responsibility. We know that there are some disability issues that are involved here. There was a competency evaluation in this case. The defendant was found competent, but we know that there are some issues there that mitigate against sending him to prison. I don't know that it would be in his best interest or the best interest of the community to have him do a lengthy time in the custody of the Secretary of Corrections. Your Honor, I think as for Mr. Richmond's request that you make a finding of indigence for purposes of the Offender Registration Act and the payment of the $20 fee quarterly, I certainly believe that there's a basis for that. We discussed that when we were here back in November at the time the plea was accepted, and I believe that it would be appropriate for the court to enter that finding, and I would place that on the journal entry as well.
All right. Mr. Harris, now is your opportunity to tell me anything you want me to know in mitigation of your sentence today.
Judge, he's shaking his head that he does not wish to speak.
Okay. All right. Mr. Richmond, do you know any legal reason why I should not now proceed to sentencing?
No, Judge, and the jail time is 307 days that Mr. Harris was in custody.
All right.
That would be from 2/6 to 12/9 of 20. Is that correct, Brett?
Yes,
And you said 306?
307.
307, okay.
All right. Well, I am going to follow the agreement. I'm going to grant the motion for downward dispositional departure. I will adopt as the substantial and compelling reasons those set out in the defendant's motion and with defense counsel's statements today. These are rather old convictions, and it is clear that Mr. Harris, other than this registration problem, has not had any run-ins with the law for quite some time. I believe that his failure to register is mitigated by his financial situation, his disabilities. And I do find that offender reformation and public safety would be better served by a term of probation than a prison sentence. So for count one, the first count of conviction, which is count 7, for a severity level 3 person felony with a criminal history score of B, Mr. Harris will be sentenced to the standard range of 216 months. He'll be eligible for 15% good time credit, subject to 36 months of post-release supervision. His application for probation is considered and it is granted to community corrections for a period of 36 months. As to count 2, violation of the Registration Act, a severity level 6 person felony with a criminal history score of I, he will be sentenced to the standard range of 18 months. That time will be ordered to run concurrently with that in the first count of conviction, which is count 7. Again, same 15% good time credit, 36 months of post-release, and 36 months of probation. I am going to find that Mr. Harris is indigent, disabled, and therefore will waive in all his cases the registration fee that he has to pay quarterly. Also, when it comes to costs and fees, I don't believe that he is in a financial situation where he is able to meet any of those financial obligations. So I'm going to waive all of those, and that would include the court costs, the supervision fee, the attorney's fee, the bids fee, the KBI database fee. His convictions are old enough. Is he in the database? Do we know?
Judge, from my understanding, they would be old enough that I don't believe it would have been collected. It might have been while he was in custody, but I believe I believe I really don't think it was just because I believe they started doing that in like 2007 or 2008, where it was confirmed to be doing that, but I don't think it was collected back in
All right.
96.
Well, Mr. Schneider, do you have a problem? I've had some other DAs in particularly trying financial circumstances not object to me waiving the database fee. That doesn't mean he doesn't have to go into the database, just that he doesn't have to pay the fee. Any objection to that?
Judge, I don't have any objection to him, to the fee being waived, as long as he can submit the DNA that needs to be in the database, because I
Right.
think that's required. I think that's mandatory by law. I don't think that particular requirement can be waived. As far as the fee, if the fee can be waived, I don't have objection to it.
All right, I'm going to waive that fee. So there aren't going to be any costs or fees in this case. All right, Mr. Harris, I just need to advise you a few things. You have 14 days from today to appeal anything you don't like about your sentence. You may also seek expungement in the future after successful completion of probation. As a convicted felon, it's prohibited for you to own or possess a firearm, certain kind of deadly cutting instruments like dirks, daggers, switchblades, basically knives that could be considered deadly weapons. This is not a registrable offense, but your other ones remain, and they are. You need to make sure that you're doing what you need to do to register. I have waived any financial problem with that, so they're not going to charge you money anymore when you come in, but that means you still have to come in because, look, I think that these kind of crimes, the only people who should go to jail, prison on them are ones who are trying to avoid letting people know where they are so that they can continue doing whatever it is that they are doing. I don't think that you're one of those in any stretch. However, if you continue to fail to register, you'll give me no choice but to have to send you to prison, okay?
He's nodding his head, yes, Judge.
All right, thank you. Gentlemen, Mr. Schneider, I'll ask you first. Anything I forgot? Jail time credit is awarded, as the parties noted, 307 days. Anything else that I failed to put on the record today, Mr. Schneider?
I can't think of anything, Your Honor.
Mr. Richmond?
No, Judge, and I have made a little list of to-do items for Mr. Harris to make sure he reports and registers, as well as contacts probation. Is that the course right now, is just calling over to probation and getting set up?
Calling over to community corrections. Do you have that number?
I do, Judge. I already have it down.
Okay, so yeah, have them, as soon as we hang up here, have them call over to community corrections. They'll tell them what to do.
Great. Thank you, Judge.
All right. If there's nothing else, we will be adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Good
Thanks,
luck,
Judge.
Mr.